Hello, greetings to you and welcome to my channel. You're highly welcome to my channel, and I want you to be rest assured that you'll be learning a whole lot concerning this application called Corel Draw. I just implore you to give me your full attention to actually get every steps that I'll be showing us, and I'll be starting it from scratch. When you miss the first class, you can always go back to my channel and get it. I will be starting from class 1 down to the end of the training called Corel Draw training. Please, if you are new here, I would like you to smash the like button, comment, subscribe to my new channel, and turn on the notification button. Thank you once more, and you're welcome. We will be starting an application course called Corel Draw. Now, if you see here, this is my desktop. What is being displayed here on desktop is different applications we have. And like I said, I'll be taking you on a course called Corel Draw, an application called Corel Draw. And if you watch here, we have the Corel Draw. And after the installation of the Corel Draw, you come to discover that it comes with different icons. We have the Corel Draw itself, we have the Corel Draw photo paint, we have the Corel Draw capture, and we have the Corel Draw capture now, and we have the Corel Draw font manager. But the interesting part of this now is they all have their own work, they all have their own functions, they all have their own work. Now, to start with, some may ask the question, what is Corel Draw? Corel Draw is simply an application used for graphic design. Of course, we have a whole lot of graphic designs application, have the Corel Draw, Photoshop, Illustrator, and so on. Now, of course, you can always go to Google to download this application, or you use the common site known as gettingpc.com to actually download this application, Corel Draw. Now, to start with, we want to launch. Of course, these are icons. These are icons, and icons are shortcuts to launching an application. And this is taskbar. Taskbar is the long cut, of course, to launch an application. Now, to start with, we will either right click on the Corel Draw and click on open, or you either left double click from your mouse. You left double click from your mouse and the Corel Draw will open. You have to give it some time before it launches. Of course, everything that has to do with what makes up the Corel Draw is actually coming up. Now, it has launched. This is the Corel Draw. Whenever you open the Corel Draw, of course, this is how the interface comes. It will give you an interface that has something like get started, workspace, what's new, learning, get more, and so on. And here you come to discover that we are having new documents, then last 9 jobs that has been done with this application using this computer system. Of course, if you have done some jobs before, you always see the last recent 9 jobs. You always see it here, and that is what we have here. And of course, this get started is where we are, where you can see all this. And when you see anything that has to do with new means new something. So that means if you've not done any work in your system, you may not be expecting to see any recent designed job here. Okay. So, but if you click on this new document, it brings you to a new page where you can actually start doing a fresh work. Like I said, you will be learning a whole lot. Now, of course, this is getting started and we have all these things here. Still on that getting started, we have this open document. Open document means, let's assume um, the jobs we've done for the past, or the jobs you've done at the past, you try opening it, and you discover that it's not among the last 9 jobs you did. Of course, you can always click on open and it opens. Then where we have new from template is already made design like jobs, just like a template that comes with the application. And once you click it, you see some of it like geometry cards and co. Okay, now that is what we have. That is what we have. And of course, the get started is the workspace where you see all this. Then what's new is just things that has to do with the CorelDRAW. Learning is just this. What's new, learning and get more. Basically, is just to give you the theoretical part of CorelDRAW, just to read more about it. But I know basically, and the essence of this video is for you to see the practical use of this application, CorelDRAW, right? So now we need to start. First thing you click is just new document, and it brings a dialog box that shows create a new document. Of course, these documents are different types of paper sizes. Of course, you know we have different paper sizes. We have A4, that is the normal paper we use in printing, be it in business center or be it anywhere. You can still use it to print with your printer. Then we have size for flyer. Of course, flyer, the share is half of that A4, and which is A5. And the thing now is it seems the higher the number, the lesser the size, but we'll still come to that when we are doing class for sizes. So of course I can always click anything here, and we can still adjust it. So we have, this is where you can always give your file name, but all this we can still just let it be like this. Even number of pages, you can still add number of pages you may want. You may want it to appear once you click on OK. But all these things we will still discuss about it. We have the primary colors. Of course, we'll talk about the colors when we are doing our color class. Of course, we have the 2 types of color, the CMYK, the RGB, which I will still explain what the CMYK means, what the RGB means, when you are to use the CMYK and when you are to use the RGB. Of course, we'll do that during our color class. So we have the dimensions. Of course, all these, like I said, you can just let this be. Dimension, we have the width and the height. Then we have the unit. The unit means if you have a tape, some people uses normal inches to measure, some people use millimeters, some people use points, pixels, feet, and co. But as time goes on, we'll still talk about this when we come to size, like I said. Now, this is the orientation I was talking about. Talking about orientation, be it portrait, standing straight, or landscape, lying down. Then we have the resolution. I'll talk about this much more later. Of course, the default resolution is 300, and why it is 300, I'll still talk about it, because the resolution has to do with how sharp, that is the sharpness of any of your graphic work when it comes out in printing. Of course, that is what we have here, the 300, and this DPI stands for dot per inch. That is, once you print, you send something for printing through you using your printer. Of course, something make up what you printed. That is, something make up what you printed. So it's called dot per inch. We'll still talk about that much more later. And we have the advanced color. All this thing now has to do with our color palette. So what I just need to do, of course, is to click on OK. Like I said, all this, we don't just need to do anything about it, because we can still do it at the main interface of the CorelDRAW. So you can just click on anything here, and you click on OK. But before then, you see a checkbox here where we have do not show these dialogues and this dialogue again. Now, some may ask, is there any reason why I should mark this and click on OK? The answer is whether you mark it or not, but as a beginner, you don't just need to mark, because this one gives you a guide on choosing the paper size, and of course your measurement and every other thing, both the millimeters and co, both the orientation or your resolution. Of course, you still just need it. So in a situation like this, you just have to let it be and just click on OK. Now it will bring you here. Now, the first thing every beginner should know about an application is knowing the fundamental aspect of the application. Now, one may ask, what do you mean by fundamental aspect of the application? Before you can go into practical, it is usually good for you to actually know more about the theoretical part of the application. Now, there are something that makes up this interface of this CorelDRAW, which is called bars, B-A-R. But I added S because there are more than one. Of course, there are active bars in CorelDRAW. But before then, let me bring back to our notice again, because some may ask, what is CorelDRAW? Like I said before, that CorelDRAW is an application used for graphic designs. Of course, like I said, we have other applications we use for graphic design, but CorelDRAW 2 is part of it, and that is why it's used for graphic design. Now, we are starting with the active bars in CorelDRAW. Now, something that make up this application to be like this after being launched, those are the bars. That is B-A-R-S, because it's more than one. Now, the first thing you always see, the first thing you always see in any application is usually the title, the name of the application. That is the first thing that is the first thing you see in any application. Of course, you can as well refer the person back to where this my mouse you see in is, this very place where the mouse is. The person should just know that yes, this person is working with CorelDRAW. He's working on CorelDRAW and on an application called CorelDRAW, and that is the application you're seeing. Of course, I will explain this on title as time goes on, but the application itself is CorelDRAW. Of course, we are seeing this CorelDRAW dash on title. We are seeing the CorelDRAW dash on title because you have not named it yet. You remember while we are here, I told us that once you click on new document, while choosing your paper size and co, you always see name. Of course, I have not done any design, so I can't begin to name my work, the work I have not even done. So that is why I refused to work on anything here, because I know I can still work on it. Okay, I can still work on it. So that is why you are seeing it as on title 1. So once you come back to this your welcome screen, click on new document, you come to discover that under the document settings, under general, that the name has on title 2, meaning the computer assumed that you are about to open another document, right? So once I click on OK, you agree with me that we have on title 1 and on title 2. Of course, like that, it will keep increasing, 3, 4, like that. So because I've not named my file, I'm not giving it a name, that is why you see it as on title. Okay, so like I said, that will be doing the fundamental aspect of the CorelDRAW, that is knowing the CorelDRAW itself, knowing some uses, the active bars. Of course, there are plenty bars in this. There are plenty bars. Bars means things that makes up the application. There are plenty of them. When you right click like here, you see plenty of them. You can see menu bar, standard bar, like that. You see, now the ones that are marked are the active ones you are seeing. Those are the ones that make up the application. Now, does not mean that the remaining one you're seeing here does not have function. They have their uses, but because they are not that important the way the ones you are seeing here are important. And that is why you can see that they make up the CorelDRAW application. So which I'll be explaining to us as time goes on. Now, if you notice something, I right clicked on this very empty space here, and I clicked on I unmarked the lock toolbar, because when it was locked, you agree with me that I can't move this, because I really want us to understand ways on how to solve a common problem when need arise. Now, while explaining these active bars, I really want us to know what happens when, or how to bring back the active bars when an application like this is being launched, and maybe you discover that some of the bars is missing. How do you get them? Of course, you just come around this space, right click on it. Okay, though by then this locked toolbars will not be active. Of course, I have unmarked it so that while explaining these bars, I can as well remove it for you to see. Now, like I said, this is CorelDRAW application that we use for graphic design. Now, the first thing what we'll be doing in this class now is to explain the active bars, why they are important, and their names. So that is what we'll have in this video. And I still want to remind us, if you are new here in this channel, please smash the like button or comment, subscribe to my new channel, and turn on the notification button for subsequent videos. Thank you. The first active bar we have in CorelDRAW application is the title bar. Title bar is where this CorelDRAW on title 1 is written. So why is it title bar? It is title bar because anyone that comes in seeing you working with this CorelDRAW application, and maybe the person may not even ask you which application is this. If the person must have had an idea of applications, once he or she looks up like this, you will discover that yes, you are working on an application called CorelDRAW. Okay, so it is part of the what? It is part of the active bar. So we have active bars in what? CorelDRAW. Like I said, I'll be listing them one after another. Okay, so I'll be listing them one after another. Don't mind, we'll still come to this. So the first one, like I said, we have is the title bar. That is title bar. So like I said, this is the first one. Anyone I list, sorry, I will explain it and the use of it. So the title bar, like I said, displays the current application in which an individual is working with. So that is what we have. Where we have the CorelDRAW on title 1 is the title bar. So the second one we have is the menu bar. Now, menu bar comes after title bar. Menu bar is where we have the file, edit, view, layout, object, effect, bitmaps, text, table, tools, window, and help. Menu bar is one of the important active bar in CorelDRAW because it is used for either to save a file, to open a file, to copy a file, to cut a file, and so on. So many things. In fact, it is one of the important active bar in CorelDRAW. Now, if you discover, when I right click here, you discover that it's part of the bar we are talking about. Now the question now is, sometimes you launch your Corel Draw and discover that the menu bar is not there again. So you shouldn't bother because it's just hidden somewhere. Of course, if I should start my design now, and maybe I finish the design and I want to save. If you don't have the idea of making use of the shortcuts, of course you'll be stranded because you may be looking for where file is, where to save, right? So when you encounter such problem, only what you need to do is to right click and do what? Bring back the menu bar. It comes back. Okay. Now, after menu bar, this is the menu bar. Like I said, if I have done my design and I want to save, just what I need to do is to go to File, then click on Save. Then it will take me to the page where we can save. And of course, if I wish to copy an object or a text, I can copy, then go back to that same edit and click on paste. Of course, we'll still come back to all this as time goes on. Like I said, we are introducing ourselves to this application, so to know or to have an idea of the fundamental aspect of this application, so that if you are being asked about this application, you should be able to have something to tell. You should be able to know the fundamental aspect of the application you're working on, not just to know the practical. Okay, you need the theory. Now, after the menu bar, the next thing we have is the standard bar. This is title bar. Like I said, from file to help is the menu bar, right? And I've told us what the menu bar does. Of course, we can use it to do so many things, and it's part of the important active bar in CorelDRAW. Of course, we can use it to do so many things. Like I said, file, you can use it to open a new document. You can use it to like launch another, as in open another work. You can save, you can copy, you can export, like that, like that. So plenty of it. So after title bar, we have the menu bar, right? This is the menu bar. Then after the menu bar, the third one we have is what? Standard bar. Standard bar. So standard bar comes after menu bar, which is what we are saying. I unlocked these two bars so that we can be able to see them while I'm calling them. Like while I'm listing them, I can bring it out. Look, like I said, I can bring it out, then you see it yourself that is called standard bar, right? Because I said after title bar, which is what we have the menu bar, then before the word standard bar. Now, if I'm asked to take it back where the something supposed to be, I'll just drag it. I'll left click and hold, then drag it. Make sure you fit it well, then it will go back where it was before, right? Now, of course, in a situation whereby you can't find the standard bar, just what you need to do is to right click and bring it back. Now, one may ask, what is standard bar? Standard bar are simply the shortcut to menu bar. Why do we say so? Like I said, menu bar is where we can, of course, save a work, open a work, copy a work, paste a work. Now, some may say, I don't have that time of going through file to either open a new document, to either save, to either copy, or to either paste. Now, standard bar too is a shortcut to some of this. Now, if you watch from file now, look at, if we are asked to open a new document, we have a blank white paper portrait that has a plus sign in green. Now that is the symbol of opening a new document, opening a new page, sorry. And of course, to open a document, an existing document, we have a folder like open. That is the picture. So if you go through this standard bar now, you discover that some of these, they are still there. And one interesting aspect of this CorelDRAW is that once you point to something, it brings the name and probably the shortcut of getting that thing done. So of course, in file, in menu, we can copy, we can paste, we can save and co. So still under standard bar, you can still do the same thing. So you can open a new file, you can open an existing document, you can save, of course you can copy, you can paste, right? So that is why standard bar is simply the shortcut to menu bar. So after that we have the property bar. The fourth one we have the what? Property bar. Now property bar, like I said, is still part of the active bar. So this is the property bar. It comes immediately after the standard bar. So we can bring it out for you to see it. Okay, so this is the property bar. Now when we ask what is the use of this property bar, now watch what happens. I try positioning it and it's not bringing it well, it's not positioning it well the way I want it. So I can still bring it out and try to position it again, right? Of course, try to position it again. So you keep doing it, you get it right, right? So it's back to a position. So property bar, when we ask what is the use of property bar? Property bar is simply the bar we use in formatting a text or an object. That is, it is what we use in completing anything we pick from the toolbox. Of course, I will come to this. Property bar, when you talk about when you are dealing with an object which is rectangle or circle, right? You watch that this property bar changes to whatever you pick from this toolbox. So now I'm on circle, is bringing me circle, that asking me that do I want it on pie, or so once I click on rectangle, it changes to rectangle. You get? So the same thing happens to text. Once I click on text, now the property bar changes because we can as well format the text. Now when we ask what is format? Format means changing what you have entirely from a different, that is changing what you have to a different thing entirely. That is what they call it formatting in graphics. Meaning if this is a text and this is I can decide to bold it. Now I've changed it from what it was before. I can decide to utilize it. I can decide to underline it. So now that is what we mean by what? That is what we mean by formatting. So formatting is changing something from what it is entirely, changing something from what it is entirely to a different thing entirely. So that is the formatting. So you can remove back the underline, of course, the italize and bold. So all these we'll still come to it when we as time goes on. Of course, you can increase the font size, you can reduce it. Of course, that is what we mean by formatting. So you should not be carried away whenever you hear someone telling you to format a particular text or an object in this Corel Draw or in graphics. Of course, you should know that it's telling you that you should change something from what it is to a different thing entirely. So that is what formatting means. So after the property bar, the next bar we have is the we have the toolbox. It is one word. It is toolbox. Toolbox. Now this is the toolbox. Let me bring it out. Now let me expand it so that you see it. So it's called toolbox. Now I told us before that while I was explaining menu bar, that it is one of the important active bar because you can't actually do without it. Okay, you can't actually do without it because it has a lot apart from saving, opening an existing document, copying and pasting. It has a lot to do, like even on it has a lot, has to do with perspective and code, so many things. So while I was telling us that menu bar is one of the important active bar, now I will equally tell you the same thing here, that toolbox is one of the most, maybe while jotting down, if you are jotting down or just taking notes of my voice message, toolbox is what is the most important active bar in CorelDRAW because the toolbox is what makes up the CorelDRAW itself. Every design you see that one do in CorelDRAW, this is everything about it. Once you can master all these toolbox, every toolbox here, once you can master it, you are 100% good to go with CorelDRAW. So like I said, anything you pick from this toolbox, what property bar does is just to give you the options of what you have picked from here, right? Of course, it was from toolbox that I was able to pick my text to write. And of course, then property bar provides means by which I can bold, utilize, change the font style and others. I can even give it the color and co, right? So toolbox is the most important active bar because you can't do without it. In fact, without this toolbox, CorelDRAW is of no use. CorelDRAW will be useless. So while we are advancing in our training or in our class, I will employ us to pay serious attention to this, because all this you are seeing, if you watch, it has some black things down. Is to tell you that the computer wants you to explore it to see more. So I'll be taking us on this very class one after another, and I'll be taking my time to train us on this, so that we don't have any cause to begin to go to a place where we'll be begging, or we will now have to leave what we are supposed to do at a particular point in time to be going for a physical training. And that is why this online training is very important, and I believe you will be happy viewing this channel. You'll be happy following me via YouTube. Now, the next one we have after the toolbox, we have the status bar. Of course, this is the status bar. It's trying to explain to you that anything that has to do with CorelDRAW, with her interface, based on what you click, of course, it shows or displays information of either your mouse click or your object. Of course, you can see it from down here. Click an object twice, right? So that is the status bar. Now, after the status bar, we have the task bar. Now, one we ask, is task bar part of the active bars in CorelDRAW? And I will always tell them yes. Of course, we have status bar. Now, the seventh one we have is task bar. Now, most people don't know that this is part of active bar in CorelDRAW, because without this task bar, of course, what the task bar does is that it enables you to launch, that is, switch into another application, or it enables you to actually go through your system, your computer, your documents, to either get one or two things, just the way file will give you opportunity to open an existing job you've done from the new one you're doing. So if I want to launch another application, I can easily just click on my task bar, then I can open any of these applications. So it is part of the active bar in CorelDRAW, because if it is not part, you will not see it being active. You will not just see it. This whole application of the CorelDRAW, the interface will overwrite the task bar. Of course, we are dealing with CorelDRAW now. I can as well, from the task bar, launch to Photoshop or launch any other application. So task bar is part of CorelDRAW active, is part of the active bars in CorelDRAW, right? So now, after the task bar, the next thing we have is the scrolling bar. We have the scrolling bar. Now, when we ask, where is the scrolling bar? Now, this is the scrolling bar. We have the scrolling bar for horizontal and vertical. Either this is it, right? This is the scrolling bar, right? We have it in horizontal and vertical, and this is it for either you are going up, or you are going down, or you are going what? we are going sideways. So it's part of the active bars in CorelDRAW. It's part of the active bars in CorelDRAW. That is the scrolling bar. So the next one we have is the color bar. Of course, the color bar. Now, this is the color bar. We have it here and we have it here. Of course, as time goes on, I'll be explaining to us, like I said, two types of color we have. Some people don't know when to use an RGB color and when to use CMYK color. So I believe as we advance in this our class, you will get to know it. So I separated my CMYK color from my RGB color. So as time goes on, you will get to know more about it. So if I decide to close it, of course, definitely it will just go, right? It will just go. And as time goes on, once we are dealing with color class, of course, I'll close these two color and still show us where we will go to actually get the color back, right? Now, the next active bar we have is we have the, of course, we have the ruler bar. Sorry, we have the ruler bar. Now, when we ask where is the ruler bar, now, of course, this is the ruler bar. This you are seeing is the dimensional bar, is still part of it, that you can as well measure from here. Of course, are you seeing the dimension? Is still part of the active bars we have, right? It's still part of the active bars we have. Now, the last one we have with us is the what? We have the Windows bar. Now, this window bar is the last active bar we have. Now, it will interest you to know that when we launched the CorelDRAW at first, this from here to here, down to this place, was static. It was just the way it was, not until when we opened the document before we were able to see this, right? Before we were able to see this. So this is to tell you that these have its own function. These have its own function. So it's called window. From here, where you are seeing this plain white space, this plain white area you're seeing, this plain white area is called the Windows bar. Simply because we are working on an interface aside the CorelDRAW itself. So when we decide to close this very window, this is the window, that is where we have this white space. Once we close it, that means we have closed the window automatically. That is, we have closed the workable place where we are working. We have closed the window. We have closed where we need to do design. We have closed where we need to work on in CorelDRAW. It has nothing to do with the CorelDRAW itself. So this Windows bar is part of the active bar. I believe we are following up. Like I said, if you are new to this channel, please smash the like button, drop your comment, subscribe to my channel, and turn off the notification button. All right. I believe we are able to know the fundamental aspects of CorelDRAW. So tomorrow, if you have been asked to at least tell us the active bars in CorelDRAW and their uses, you should be able to know what you should be able to know. You should be able to list them, and you should be able to explain their uses. So thank you. I hope to see you in my next video. Thank you and goodbye. Thank you for listening and thank you for your time. Please help me smash the like button, drop your comment, subscribe to my new channel because I know I'll be sending subsequent videos, and equally turn on the notification button for my